Hey guys, it's Ron here again. Today's Friday, and I missed doing my devotion early today because I'm at Winter Spree, and we're setting up for a huge youth conference, and there's going to be a lot of worship taking place and a lot of students worshiping God. And I just didn't get a chance this morning to sit down in my office and film my goofy little devotion where I'm super awkward and talk to you about a devotion that's on my mind. As I've been traveling this weekend, and as I've been preparing, there is been a couple of Bible stories that have been just rolling through my mind. And the very first one is from the first book of Kings, in the third chapter, and it's about Solomon and two women with babies. And these two women with babies, one of the woman's child dies, and they have an argument because the second woman goes and takes the living child and says, "This baby's mine." And the two women start fighting back and forth. And as the fighting back and forth escalates and continues, they go before King Solomon, who is a wise king, and he has been asking God for guidance on the truth of the matters and the truth of the matter at hand. And so as they're standing before him, they're saying, "No, this baby's mine," and "No, that baby is mine," and "The dead baby is hers," and they're fighting back and forth. And King Solomon, in a godly counsel, says, "Well, we'll just cut the baby in half, and each of you can have a half of the baby." And to that, the mother of the living child speaks forward and says, "No, let her have the baby." And we see in that the willingness to sacrifice, even when we know a truth, that we're willing to sacrifice and we're willing to step forward. And when we have the truth of Christ in us, then we're willing to live a life of sacrifice. And the next story that I want to share is the story of Peter. We see in Peter in the New Testament how when we look at Peter, a lot of times what we see is this guy that's following Jesus, and it says to Jesus, "I'm willing to stand with you no matter what happens." And then when Jesus is being taken to be crucified, he has three opportunities to stand up and really say, "No, I am a Jesus follower. I am a disciple of Christ." And on those three occasions, he denied Jesus. But that's not the end of the story. He denied Jesus because he was afraid of experiencing the same death that Jesus was about to experience. He knew that the crucifixion was coming, but he didn't understand the full truth of the gospel yet. He didn't understand the full story yet. But we see later, after the crucifixion, it's Jesus' resurrection, and he encounters Peter, and Peter understands more fully then. And then we see a short time after that Peter gets up and he starts to proclaim to thousands of people about the love of Jesus and the truth of who Jesus is. And just a short time before, Peter was terrified to stand with Christ. But once he knew the truth of Christ and the truth of the resurrected King, he got up and he stood before everybody and said what he believed. And it came at a sacrifice. When we follow Christ, when we live for Christ, it comes as a sacrifice a lot of times. But that's not all that comes with it. There is great joy that comes with it. And I want these youth that gather here this weekend to experience that truth of Christ, that love of Christ. So I ask you, if you are listening to this Facebook message, if you don't know Christ, if you don't know this King that I'm talking about, take some time tonight, in the next few minutes after you watch this video, and talk to Jesus. Just ask Jesus in prayer, "Jesus, can I have a relationship with you? God, Jesus, I surrender who I am to you and invite him to live in you, and he will. There's nothing that can separate you from the love of Jesus. I ask you to pray as well. If you're already on a walk with Christ, pray for these students that will gather here this weekend. Pray that they will understand more about the love and truth of Jesus. I want to let you know that I love you and I'm praying for you. Now go tell somebody about Jesus. You might be the only Jesus somebody gets.